Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Pixie and Addicts here, back again with another video. I really had to cover this specific topic. If you clicked on this video, you see that this is about Keenan Allen. It's about his future in LA. Now, a lot of this has to do with the situation that just happened this weekend. And, you know, if you're a Charger fan, you know exactly what happened, right? The questionable fourth down decision that Brandon Staley decided to take, right? You know, instead of kicking the ball to Jacoby Brissett, you know, he decided to go for it on 4th and 1. Ball at the 45-yard line, and you know, we all know how it turned out. Now the Chargers were lucky to get a win, but it was very huge news, right? And it was a big deal that Keenan Allen, you know, obviously one of the leaders on this Charger team, took to Twitter during the game to you know, voice his displeasure with Brandon Staley and, you know, the decision to go for it on 4th down. Now that is a big thing, and you know, obviously this is something that is new. I can't ever remember. I mean, obviously social media, the inception of social media, this is a newer thing, right, as far as professional sports goes, especially the NFL. I can't remember a time where a player that was currently on a team got online and criticized a coach or anybody for that matter during an actual game, like during the duration of the actual game. Like I can't ever remember that. So this is a first time. So I think this situation is big. And no matter what Brandon Staley has said about it, you know, I know he came out and you know, he did his thing again, right? He did his whole motivational type of speech again, and he gave a very you know, positive answer for, you know, what he thought about, you know, Keenan Allen and you know, him criticizing him during the game. And you know, he ultimately said that, oh, you know, they're going to become closer because of it and such, whatever. You know, I guess you can believe some of that, but I'm very skeptical at this point now. Honestly, my honest feeling, and I'm not going to bury the lead here anymore, but my honest feeling is that the Chargers organization is they're pretty much going to have to be in a position where they're choosing between Keenan Allen or Brandon Staley. I think it's going to boil down to that because, you know, if you have watched any, you know, NFL Network, any ESPN, if you watch anything that, you know, former players are on and former players are giving their analysis of it, this is, according to pretty much every single former NFL player that has spoke on this specific situation, this is not a good thing, not just for, you know, Keenan Allen, but this isn't a good thing for a team. You know, the consensus among former players is that Keenan Allen feels empowered to speak on this because there are, you know, guys in the locker room who feel like, you know, okay, he's the longest tenured Charger at this point right now, right? 10 years. He's obviously a leader on this team. He's a team captain. So this is the guy that we go to voice our displeasure, right, with whatever's going on with the coaching staff. He's the guy to go to, right? He's pretty much the go-to guy. So this is what a lot of former players feel is going on in the Chargers locker room. Now, you know, nobody has confirmed it or anything, but this is what a lot of former players feel, right? And, you know, I am of the same mindset, you know, just because we heard, you know, after the game against the Jaguars, right, there are some whispers and stuff going on in the Chargers building that a lot of guys in the locker room, right, a lot of guys on this team are not really, you know, they're not so on board with Brandon Staley, you know, anymore, right? If there are guys who were there last year in 2021, they're not as on board with him, and if they're newer players, are kind of, you know, I guess on the fence about him. So this would line up with that reporting. Now, this is obviously going to affect Keenan Allen and his time with the Chargers. I honestly feel this is going to be Keenan Allen's last season with the Chargers. I honestly feel that way. And there are a myriad of reasons, right? I think this is obviously the biggest one, right? No matter what Brandon Staley says, the NFL is full of, you know, testosterone, right? It's full of men who are really prideful, right? Who stand on their pride, and nobody stands on their pride quite like Brandon Staley. You heard him at the press conference, the post-game press conference against the Browns, right? even though it was the wrong decision to make, even though the Browns, they did the minimum that they had to do to get in field goal range, they just missed the field goal. When he was asked about it, he talked about it and he repeated several times, our process, it's our process, it's our process. I'm comfortable with our process. I'm comfortable with our process. I'm comfortable with our process. Yes, you might be comfortable with your process, but your process might not be the right process in every single situation, right? Football is a fluid game. And I think I said this in a comment the other day. No two NFL games are alike. So your process has to change, kind of from game to game, right? I mean, you can have the same, core things, right? The same basic guidelines that you have, right? But you're going to have to switch things up every now and then, right? You're going to have to tinker with it, right? Depending on who your opponent is, depending on how your team is playing, depending on injuries. There's a bunch of different things that will, cause a coach or an entire coaching staff to really change up their process, right? Not just before a game, but during the game. Like, there's different things that come into play, and you have to take that into account. But Brandon Staley is very, very, very steadfast with the process. So this lets you know that he is very prideful in what he does, right? The way that he prepares. He, kind of dismisses everything else, and he is very prideful in the way that he prepares. So if, a guy is prideful in the way that he prepares, it's not wrong to infer that he's prideful just as a man, right? So when you see another man taking a shot at you, whether or not he plays for you or not, that is something that can really affect the relationship. And I think those guys have a okay relationship, but this is not nothing. This is not something that just brush under the table. Like, Brandon Staley got called out by one of his players, by a guy that's in the building, by a guy that has internal knowledge of everything that's going on, right? By the longest tenured Charger. This is the guy who just called him out. So this is a big, big deal. I don't want people to just dismiss this and think it's going to go away. This is a huge deal. And ultimately, I think this is what pushes, the envelope a little bit as to why Keenan Allen won't be in LA after this year. Honestly, I do. Now, obviously, there's going to be other factors to that as well, too. Keenan Allen has been injured since week 1. He hasn't taken the field yet. His status is still up in the air for the Denver Broncos game on Monday night. So we still won't know until, the week, progresses. But, this is a guy, he's injured now, right? He's been with the Chargers for 10 years. His contract number as well, too, going into the 2023 season, he has a $21.7 million cap hit. So that is a lot of money, right? That's a lot. Now, we see what receivers are getting paid in this league now. But, the Chargers are really going to have a justification as to why they might not want to pay him all that money. His injuries, his age now, they might come across as, a team that is not willing to pay that, or they might come to him and say, hey, we need you to take a little bit of a pay cut, whatever, right? That is one reason why I think Keenan Allen won't be in LA next year. The other reason why, elephant in the room, right? Justin Herbert is going to be due, for a contract extension next season. And, with all of Herbert's successes, all of the records and stuff that he's broken, the way that he's played, the way that he's carried himself as a leader, obviously he is going to command big money. So when you're looking at, a potential Justin Herbert contract, you're looking probably, north of $40 million, right? So the Chargers, again, they're going to have to find that money somewhere. So somebody is going to have to go, right? They're going to have to part ways with a good player. And, it's just what it is. It's the nature of the NFL. It's what the business is. We've seen the Chiefs do it this past offseason with Tyreek Hill, right? They were able to trade him to the Dolphins. They were able to maximize that with draft picks, but it's just what it is, right? You cannot have, every single position making, top dollar, right? You're going to have to spread that money around. The GM, the franchise is going to have to, be as economical as they can, right, with the cap. Because it is a hard cap, right? It's not the NBA. There's not a lot of flexibility. This is a hard cap. So you got to get under the cap before the deadline. So that's why I think Keenan Allen might be, I think he might be on the outs as well, too. I don't know if he's going to want to take a pay cut. I'm not sure. I don't know him. I don't know his mindset. I don't know his mentality. But, we've seen in the past, right, a bunch of great players for franchises, for organizations. When organizations come to them and ask them to take pay cuts, a lot of the time, most of the time, 95% of the time, these veterans do not want to take a pay cut, so they end up getting cut, and then they're available on the open market, and it is what it is. It is a part of the business. It's not a great part of the business, but it is a part of the business of the NFL. So this is where I think Keenan Allen might be. Now, obviously, this Brandon Staley situation, this puts a whole new perspective on things, right, for the organization, especially if the organization is on Brandon Staley's side, right? If they are happy with Brandon Staley, if the Chargers do have some success this year, and there's no reason to get rid of Brandon Staley, I think Keenan Allen, they can just chalk it up as him being a cap casualty, but there's going to be some other stuff behind it, right? I think Brandon Staley is not happy with this. No matter what he says, again, he is a great communicator, and that's one thing that I do give him credit for. So he can come out and he can, voice his, maybe it's not necessarily his real opinion, but he can come out and voice his, coach speak opinion, and he can come out and sound really, really, political, very presidential in how he speaks about this, kind of dismissing it and, throwing water on this fire, right? That is the Keenan Allen tweets. But this is something that has legs, guys. This is not going to be a thing that I think just disappears right now. Both of these men are professionals. Keenan Allen is a professional. Brandon Staley is a professional. They're not gonna bicker. They're not gonna let things out of the building. But this is going to be a story, I think, that is gonna resurface at some point, right? Probably in the offseason. That's my best guess, is probably in the offseason. But I think that this is going to have legs. And I think, especially if the Chargers are willing to move on from Keenan Allen, right? Maybe they offer him up in a trade or something. There's a lot of teams who would love to have a Keenan Allen on their team. So I'm sure he does have some trade value if the Chargers are looking that way. But this is setting up for a Keenan Allen departure this season. I believe. I forgot to mention as well, too, Keenan Allen is only a $6.9 million dead cap hit. Now, it's not, nothing, but it's way more. His dead cap hit for this season is $26 million. So it's, $20 million less to get rid of him after this season. So that's also on the table as well, too. Again, a trade is on the table. There are multiple options on the table for this, but the whole tweet situation that happened this past weekend, that raises a lot of eyebrows, and it's raising my eyebrows. So I'm going to monitor the situation. Again, obviously these men are professionals. When Keenan Allen comes back, I think he's just going to, be able to, reintegrate himself into the offense. Obviously being, Justin Herbert's, most reliable target. Mike Williams has emerged as almost a clear number one right now at this point. But Keenan Allen is the most reliable target, especially on third down, with the route running and all of that stuff. But guys, this is a story that's probably going to be buried, but I think it's going to resurface, especially if Keenan Allen is not on this LA Charger roster next season. I think this whole situation plays a very, very big part in it. But again, both these men are professional, and they have, pretty much thrown water on the situation at this point right now. So I just wanted to come on here and just give my opinions on this situation. Very, very interesting situation. Again, I've never seen this situation happen before, ever. So this is the first for me. But hopefully there is more information about this. Maybe soon, maybe with some of the beat reporters, maybe with some of the national reporters. You never know. But at this point right now, I think it's going to be dead going forward. Especially after the next game. But this is something to keep your eye out for. Just to watch out for this. Especially coming up this offseason. But that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Really, really appreciate it. Shout out to my new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out as well, too. I'll be back again tomorrow with more content. Thank you for all the support. And until next time.